Cool. So we'll take a little bit more time with this concept that Lord Krishna is sharing about immortality and the relationship with the body and all of this. So this is where we are. He's just stated, and we had gone one sloka past this, but this famous and very misunderstood sloka about how can the self kill? To the one who knows, how can the self kill or be killed? And so we'll pick up here. And then along the same vein, and it's here, this is the way it's translated as this: whoever truly knows the self, indestructible, eternal, birthless, and changeless, in what way would such a person kill, Arjuna, and what would be killed? You want to take a shot? What would be killed, in what way would such a person kill, and who would be killed?
Maybe kill the heart of someone.
Physical, killing the physical, that's it.
The 5 elements can be killed.
The 5 elements can't be killed.
No.
Can the soul be killed?
No.
No. So like this. Okay, and then this. So Lord Krishna understands that being exposed to these concepts, we won't necessarily grasp it right away. So he continues to explain, and then, of course, teaches us how to recognize it ourselves, how to know it ourselves, what's being shared. Just like casting off worn-out clothing and putting on new ones, that which is embodied casts off worn-out bodies and enters others that are new. So that's what's called reincarnation. But, the common concept that we have in the West of reincarnation is something about being born again. But here you're not getting that. Do you hear the difference between this idea of dying and then being reborn, which is the common Western notion about what this reincarnation means? Mm-hmm. And actually, it's in the word. Re means what? Again. Incarnate. Carnate. Food.
That's good.
Physical body. Food.
But carnate means food.
Karna. Sorry?
Well, you said carnate means food?
Well, what does karna mean? What does the word karna mean?
Karna means dog in Italian.
Yeah.
Meat in Spanish.
Really? So these are meat bodies.
Yes.
James added meat bodies.
What are they called? It's called the which kosha? Ana, Maya, kosha.
Gross.
Ana is what?
Food.
Food. Food. So reincarnate.
I call them skin suits, but meat suits are also the same.
But look at the concept we might have had of reincarnation. And I want to offer, there's a beautiful commentary from Swami Chinmayananda on the subject. I'd like to offer that on the contemplation of this. But look at the concept we have of reincarnation is I die and then I'm reborn somehow. But is that what this is saying? Do you notice the difference? Yes. No, what does this say?
The basic elements of life never die.
It's saying that which is alive
is always
is embodied in a body. And then it casts off that body and does what?
It's coming right back.
Comes to
acquires a new body. Mm-hmm. So you're a skin suit.
Yeah.
Let's read the commentary from Swami. He says, this is one of the oft-quoted famous stanzas in the Gita, which by a very striking example explains to us how the egocentric entity in an individual readily leaves its associations with one set of equipments and arrogates to itself another conducive equipment for living a new set of its required experiences. The example that Vyasa uses is so universal that from the Lord's own mouth it rings with a note of irresistible appeal. Have you ever noticed when you have a dream, that you have a body in the dream? Have you ever looked to check in and see if it's the same body that you have here?
Right. I've had other bodies in my dream.
Yeah.
Or you can propel yourself.
But do you notice, having recognized that, does anybody else have that experience? You might not even notice it, but maybe you can resolve to try to notice it. That'll be helpful. There's another way to touch the same, but this is one way to do it. So look and see if that different body in the dream also seemed every bit as much my body as this body seems now. Right? And then go back and look at the child body. So bring back some memories of 5 years, 6 years, whatever, playing, whatever it was. That child body. Did that body seem any more or less me than this body? Or does this body seem more or less me than that body?
More or less me.
But it's not the same body.
It's true.
There might be similarities in the eyes and such, but it's not the same body. All the cells gone. It's not the same body. It's constantly changing. But look and you'll see the feeling in the dream in some prior time and now that this body is me and that body was me and that dream body was me. It won't seem like one was more or less. It won't seem like this has become more you, and it won't seem like this has become less you. So this is this principle, ego, ahamkara. In Sanskrit, ahamkara, meaning the self-arrogating principle. Meaning that you take whatever you're observing to be yourself. You bring it unto yourself. You bring it unto yourself. You arrogate it. You acquire it. You make it yours. But really, in this case, you make it you. So, and how can all three of those bodies be you, by the way? There are some aids here that we get when we're dealing with these texts to see in our own experience, yeah, I see it. Right? I see it, yes. It feels like this is me, that feels like that's me, that. So, and this helps us to understand something about what's happening here.
Well, it seems like, when we're younger, our personality is a little different than our older personality.
Sure, personality is different.
But then in our bigger eye, changes in personalities, when we come back next time, they'll be no different.
What you're seeing is that the ego, this self-arrogating principle, that this association of the I with this body is the same regardless of the body. The personality will change. The personality, you might say grow, you might say decline in terms of personality. What can you say? The body will grow for a while and then it will decay, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of what state the body is in, this self-arrogation where you're taking this body to be yourself will be the same.
Yeah.
Until it's not, until you've broken the spell. But, so here he's trying to help us to see what's happening. So Swamiji continues, just as an individual changes his clothes to suit the convenience of the occasion, so too the ego center discards one physical form and takes on another, which will be most suited for it to gain the next required type of experiences. No one will plan to go to his office wearing his nightgown, nor will he, in his stiff collar, feel happy while playing tennis in the evening. He changes his dress according to the field where he is intending to work for the time being. Similar is the why and wherefore of death and thereafter. He says, this striking example which comes within the comprehension of everyone is made use of by the Lord, so that not only Arjuna, but even those who are overhearing these 18 discourses, even at this distant time, may come to understand the idea clearly, what he's sharing. Again, it's the sutra we're dealing with, or sloka we're dealing with, a little different translation. Just as a man casts off his worn out clothes and puts on new ones, so also the embodied self casts off its worn out bodies and enters others which are new. So when it served its purpose is the concept. And who will know that it served its purpose? The ego will know. The self-arrogating principle itself will know. It took this body, this I, this little I, took this body in order to accomplish some unfinished business. I don't know your unfinished business. By the way, I have some idea, but only from watching closely. But the truth is, no one can know anyone else's unfinished business, and no one can really know when their business is finished. And so in this grief place where we take everyone to be these bodies, we'll say, oh my God, they died too young. But what he's sharing is the concept, actually, no, that body served its purpose. And there was no death. Nothing dies. The 5 elements don't die. And the soul doesn't die. So there's no death.
Doesn't seem like the mind.
It's a completely different view. No, the mind struggles to grasp that, but by the way, the intellect catches it when we're in a space like this and discuss it, doesn't it? Yeah. And it also recognizes it doesn't feel like that, but this makes sense. And it's also consistent with your experience when you look back at dream state, childhood, other places and times. You can look and see the personality completely different now from what it was then, but still it's me.
So even mom.
So Swamiji, the difference between the concept of reincarnation, East and West, is that West believes that, or doesn't know that the elements get recycled? Is that the only?
It's not, the elements are not important. The elements are the elements. The concept that I die and then I'm reborn, that's not what's being shared.
So it's identification of the astral body?
I'm not the astral body either. I'm not the astral body either. And if you just look at your experience as the I, this I that arrogates, this I that experiences, this I that takes itself to be this or that, if you look at this feeling of I, this subjective feeling of I, that's never changed either. So, and that's where you find your immortality. So this subjective feeling of I, you did this to me. Well, you were changing all the time, but this me is still the same in the dream, in the childhood, in the prior birth, etc. The personality is different. Personality is different. The things that are said are different. The things that are thought are different. But the feeling of I is one. To catch the feeling of I,
Yeah.
this subject to whom everything's happening, This is the 10th man that we keep forgetting.
Yes.
Yeah.
This feeling of I. And this feeling of I is related to soul. Related to soul is related to self, capital S self. It is eternal. It is unchanging. This feeling of I, everything changes, but this feeling of I doesn't change. So, changing of our clothes that have become worn out cannot be a pain to any one of us, especially when it is for the purpose of putting on a new set of clothes. Similarly, when a mind-intellect equipment, speaking of the person, not the soul, when a mind-intellect equipment finds that its embodiment in a given form can no longer help it to earn from its available environments experiences that would facilitate its evolutionary pilgrimage, it feels that this particular form is worn out. And he gives the Sanskrit word jirna. This worn out condition of a body is to be decided neither by its age nor by its biological condition, nor can anybody other than its wearer, the ego, decide it. So do recognize that we're talking about, in this conjunction of ego, astral. So, as if the astral enters a new physical body.
So you call that the soul also, the ego? Like the soul, or is it?
No, ego's wearing it.
Okay.
Or encumbered, or as if encumbered by it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Where the ego's set.
If there's a prison, then we say this equipment has become a prison, but it's not the physical. Critics rise up in hosts however, against the truth of this stanza, and their main platform of arguments is built upon the observed facts of young people dying away in the bloom of their life. In the observer's opinion, the individual was young and his body was not worn out, but from the standpoint of the evolutionary necessity of the ego concerned, that body was already useless for it. If you look at the concept that I have something to do here, have we all experienced this? I have something to do here. So there's something I need to do. I need to do this, I need to do that. And the feeling could be, I need to make my mark, right? But there's something that I need to accomplish. Everyone will have this feeling of something needed to be accomplished. That's not related to the physical body. That feeling I need to accomplish, and it's also not soul. Soul is not in need of accomplishing anything. The self, capital S self, is not in need of accomplishing anything. So who's needing to accomplish something? So you can say the astral, or you can say the person, or you can say this ego, but you would include in it the mind and intellect.
So the Vasana reincarnate almost.
Yeah, and by the way, when you look at our experience in life, you see that we either, what do? We might accomplish what we came to accomplish. We might forget and get distracted along the way.
Yeah.
And then realize later on, oh my God, I didn't do what I came to do.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon, is it?
That's not a lot happens.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Is we get wrapped up and caught up and don't accomplish what it is that we want to do, and then what? And then what situation do we end up in later on in this incarnation?
Probably going to regret and stuff.
Having regret and needing to come back and have a do-over in order to accomplish what it was that I was supposed to accomplish this time.
Then forget again.
And yeah, but then if I do it, if I complete it, and there's not something else that was needing to be completed, then what Swamiji is sharing is then it could be said from the perspective of that ego person equipment that it's time for something else now.
Yeah.
There's something else now that's needing to be accomplished. So
Excuse me.
just a concept. We can't solve all of it with this one sloka, but conceptually it can help to dust off some of the notions.
Will it always be a mystery until it's achieved?
No. In fact, there are those who have more clarity of their astral experiences or prior incarnations.
Okay.
So you can't, there's certainly forgetting that each of us experience coming into the physical body. And it seems like each of us experience it. But there is something of a getting back in touch with it, with many.
Could you call it guideposts?
And you can actually see it. The more there's clarity of mind, the more you can relate back to what it is that you were here to do. It's always going to be some sort of service.
Right. True.
But it might be some clearing necessary. So what happens? We come. Does let's not say soul, does this astral equipment know prior to coming into the physical body what it's coming here for?
Yes.
Yeah. We have this very interesting experience of childhood, and you notice that we don't, generally speaking, we don't remember anything younger than 2 years old, something like that. Is that so?
Generally, yeah.
I don't remember 10.
Yeah, right. And generally speaking, we don't remember our time in the uterus, although I have met people that do.
Yeah. It's very rare.
But sometimes it happens. What's the difference? And have memories of it. So, yeah, it happens. What's the difference, do you suppose, between the experiences that we have at older ages and the experiences that we have at those youngest ages?
We start figuring out the world and how it works.
What kind of experience, right, or how we think it works.
And it takes a long time, too. It's like, oh.
So if I say the experience becomes much more gross versus much more subtle,
Yeah.
if you can relate to your experiences in the womb, it's a very subtle experience. Maybe somebody got kicked somewhere along the line, but still everything was taken care of, right?
Yeah.
So you had no real gross material desires.
Yeah.
You might still in the astral have the desire to be loved, like that. But maybe in the womb you feel it. Maybe you feel love. If you check in, you'll see you would feel quite full, quite content, generally speaking. Right? But then when the cord is cut, or whatever is done with the cord, different things in this day, then that feeling of separation, having to fight for the breath, knowing that if I don't breathe, I'll die. Life becomes very gross, very loud, very noisy, very much about I need this and I need that. So, but the more you experience sama, quiescence of mind, equanimity of mind, more these memories start to come. Because we get more in touch with the subtle. Also, it's interesting in this way. And then we notice that the children often, up until a couple of years old, up until that point where, or so, they're still in the realm, they'll have what we adults will call imaginary friends, which they'll say, no, they're not imaginary friends, they're as real as you are. Right? But then after a while, the adults will train the child out of it.
Yeah.
right? Because the adult has become accustomed to only taking the physical to be real, but they're still in a transition of moving from astral plane back into physical plane. And also, if you ask a child, and Erica has this experience, yogis who are really aware of this, as you become more aware of the different realms of experience, and as it really settles in that I'm alive, I am life itself, that I've experienced in this body or in this situation or this body or this body or this situation. And you can see it, because if you can look at your desires today, unfulfilled desires, and you can look at your personality, you'll see a connection to prior states. There is an evolution. There is an evolution. If you look at gifts that you have now, you'll recognize many of these gifts can't be acquired in a short period of time. And this life is not random. It's not like God standing there saying, okay, you're going to be the concert piano player. And boom, here you have the gift now. And I like that. Any gift you have has to be acquired. You have to work for it, don't you? It's interesting. You can learn to be a drummer now, Gopala, but you have to apply yourself to do it. And you have developed some skill, by the way. So, but how did you develop it? Did God just mysteriously give it to you?
Listen to Swami.
So there's a process by which you learn. Is it true? Krishnadas, did you have to learn to play harmonium? Yeah. So, and you look at the things that you've already learned and you can see something about prior incarnations. You can see.
Like, that makes sense for me. I didn't learn how to read energy. Just one day came to my, I guess, memory or not memory, but it was easy for me and I didn't understand when it even started.
Right. But you also have an opening to prior incarnations, and you can see some of it. So you can see that what's being shared is. So we say sometimes, I'll laugh about it and say unfinished business. So what is it? So this is what's being shared, is that this particular body that we've climbed into is appropriate for whatever we came here to do this time. And then when it's done, then there's no use for the body any longer. This is what we call death around here, but nothing died. This is what Krishna shared. And he's trying to help us dive in a little bit and analyze it a little bit and see in our own life experience, and see if we can get points of resonance where it'll catch us and we'll say, and it'll help us to have a new perspective of life. And you see, as this new perspective begins to dawn, you see how fear in these moments starts to fall away, right? And there can be more clarity in terms of the mission. And this is part of what Arjuna is dealing with in all of us. This question, what am I to do? Arjuna knows, but then he gets wrapped up. And he what?
Freaks out, freezes.
Freaks out and?
Freezes up.
And forgets. And he's going to run away.
Yeah.
How many more births for that? If he does,
Why does the desire to help others and uplift humanity still keep you in bondage?
Well, I suppose most people that have that desire would say that their life experience is lighter. But it is said that the only thing that's really needed is self-realization, is knowledge of oneself. And that's the one thing, knowing, firm knowing, that I am not what I've taken myself to be. That is what will finally clear the spell, just that. But the rest of it will help to prepare the ground for that. That's what's being shared. And I feel we can understand that too, because we know that if we're doing things for ourselves, that we get frantic about it because we don't get what we want, or we get into depression because we give up on getting what we want, one or the other. We have this experience. And one of those is rajas and the other is tamas. And when we're in depression, we can't really relate to truth, right? Someone can say, all is one, and do we really even care in depression? Right? It's like spiritual bypassing and shining me on.
Yeah.
And when we're in the doership stage, we're going to be more interested in doing for ourselves, because I'm still trying to get that $1 million so that I can be happy. So you can see how the disturbed states of mind that come from self-centered living will cause us either not to understand the truth or not to be interested in the truth. So in that case, there's realization remains afar. But one who really has the desire to serve others and is motivated to serve others experiences a more calm mind, more sama. Does that make sense? Is that our experience?
Yes.
Is that your experience, Krishnadas? When you're serving, when you're motivated to serve, relatively speaking, more clarity?
Well, I feel like it connects me to the soul quality of fulfillment.
There you go.
But that's why I was asking, because you said the soul's already fulfilled. It doesn't have any desire or
Correct.
life purpose.
Right. But the person does. The person does.
So how is it
And the
that?
suffering is the realm of the person.
So, but then it leads you to the question: how is it that when you feel like you're connected with your life purpose, then you reach to a limited extent that soul quality, like things become lighter.
Yes.
But you were going towards a desire, so.
A selfless desire is completely different from a self-centered desire, and the fruit of it is completely different. A beautiful example of that, and she speaks of her life. A beautiful example of that is Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta, because she speaks of this in her writings and in her talking, etc. She had devoted herself completely to service. But still, there wasn't peace for her. She speaks to this. There wasn't peace for her. She was motivated to serve all of the time. But it appears that very near the end of that incarnation, that she received that beatitude as well, of self-knowledge. If you read some of her last words, you'll catch it. Perhaps you'll catch it. So in that case, you could say that the service, that life of service, prepared the ground being the mind, in order to receive the teaching that I and the Father are one. Like this. So, but still there wasn't a satisfaction until those last moments. There wasn't a settling in until those last moments. So in this tradition, it would be said that self-realization is required. That you have to be good, do good, you have to serve. That all of these are preparations, that they're all purifications of the equipment, of the mind, the intellect, of the person. Not the soul is already pure. But they're preparation for self-realization, like this. Oh.
I found out another thing is all these souls that want to help humanity in the earth. It's like they felt it before coming in. It's like we all know that deep down that we're trying to escape this domination matrix, and we're going up. They call it the ascension and the great awakening.
Yeah,
And
we call it avidya.
Yeah.
Avidya, primal nescience or ignorance, taking ourselves to be either the astral or the physical. That's what we call it.
It's also escaping. And so it's like we're going up, and then souls come in and try to help elevate that.
Yeah,
so
it
that
can be
we
like
make-
these higher beings, we can say, angels and such.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anything else? We'll close.
I was just going to share that this morning I was very, very profoundly inspired. I don't know how this came. God brought upon this video of this Thai monk who, I guess in service, he was a saint and he drowned his body. Another monk came and brought. This just reminded me of that, knowing firmly I'm not this body and being centered in the truth. Gasoline all over his body, and then they lit him on fire. And he didn't move an inch or speak a word, not even like a little grumble or nothing.
Sama.
Knowing completely I'm not this body.
Or knowing completely this is my duty.
It's just incredible.
Or knowing completely this is my duty. And the mind being sama, being trained to be stable. To accept, knowing that everything changes. Even this too shall pass. So,
Better know and not just think you know it. Something that extreme.
Right. He wasn't shaken.
This is Arjuna's training. This is the training that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Because that was his role. Arjuna's role is to fight this. Our role is with the kids. But it's no less important. It's no less important. Just because there's a big role and what appears to be a little role, they're actually not less important. There's not one of them that are more important or less important. So, and we experience exactly the same battles inside that Arjuna experiences inside. So this isn't about them, but to have the examples are helpful. So, okay, let's close. Final prayers in our team. Page 80. Om Trayambakam Yajameh Surandim Pushtivayanam Orvayurukamiva Bandhanam Mritor Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajameh Surandim Pushtivayanam Orvayurukamiva Bandhanam Mritor Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajameh Surandim Pushtivayanam Orvayurukamiva Bandhanam Mritor Mukshiyamam Mritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Makashi Dukhabhave Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Ritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Namah Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
Namah Satguru Saraswati Mani Ki.
Jai.
Let's rise for our tea.